Today, we're going to decode healthy aging. But we're not talking about crow's feet or how many birthdays you've had. Nope, we're going way, way deeper, all the way down to the cellular level, where the real action is happening. So, let's just flip the script for a second. What if aging isn't really about the calendar at all? What if it's actually a story about the challenges our trillions of cells face day in and day out? Because if it is, that means it's a process we can actually learn to support. And here's the bottom line. Healthy aging really just comes down to healthy cells. It's all about keeping these tiny, fundamental building blocks of our bodies tuned up and running smoothly. So to get how that works, let's meet a couple of the most important players inside our cells. Okay, first up, we've got telomeres. Picture this. At the very end of every single one of your chromosomes, there's a little protective cap. The best way to think about them is like those little plastic tips on your shoelaces. You know, the ones that stop the whole thing from unraveling? Well, that's exactly what telomeres do for our DNA every time a cell divides. Pretty important, right? And next, let's talk about the mitochondria. You probably remember hearing about these guys in high school biology. They're the powerhouses of the cell. And that's not just a cute nickname. They are literally churning out a molecule called ATP, which is the energy currency that fuels, well, everything you do. From blinking your eyes to thinking a thought, it's all powered by mitochondria. All right, so we've met our key players. But, as time goes on, our cells start to face some pretty big hurdles. Let's break down the three main challenges that are really at the heart of the cellular aging process. Challenge number one is a full-blown energy crisis. Yeah, those amazing little mitochondria powerhouses, they can start to become less efficient. It's kind of like a city power grid that's slowly starting to fail, producing less and less energy. And when your cells don't have enough energy, everything they do starts to slow down. Second big challenge. Things can get messy. You see, over time, different parts of the cell can get old, damaged, or just stop working right. Now, our cells have this amazing internal cleanup crew to handle the junk, but sometimes the mess just piles up faster than they can deal with it. So, how's that cleanup crew supposed to work? Well, it's through a process called autophagy, and this is so cool. It's basically the cell's own internal recycling program. It finds old, broken parts, breaks them down into their basic components, and then it reuses those materials to build new healthy stuff. This process is absolutely essential for keeping our cells clean and working properly. But what happens when that cleanup process gets overwhelmed? Well, some cells go into this weird state called senescence. We call them zombie cells. And for good reason. They stop dividing and they stop doing their jobs. But they don't actually die. They just hang around like zombies, pumping out a bunch of harmful signals that can cause trouble for all the healthy cells nearby. And that leads us right into our third major challenge. It's like a constant low-level alarm bell that's always ringing in the background. Scientists even have a word for it: inflammaging. It's this chronic, low-grade inflammation that over time just wears our entire system down. It's exhausting for our cells. Okay, so we've laid out the problems, right? An energy crisis, a cellular mess with zombie cells, and this constant inflammatory alarm. But here's the good news. Researchers are finding all sorts of natural compounds that can actually help our cells fight back. So it's time to meet the cellular helpers. So here's a quick look at our support squad. Each one of these has a special job, whether it's defending against damage or helping manage those zombie cells. And they work by tapping into key cellular pathways. You can think of these as communication networks that tell your cells what to do. You'll see things like SIRT1 and MTR. Don't worry about the names, just think of them as master switches for cell health. Now let's zoom in on a few of these. First up, we have Astaxanthin. This one is a serious all-star. It helps activate one of those master switches, a so-called longevity gene. It supports our mitochondria to keep that energy crisis at bay, helps calm down that inflammatory alarm bell, and it even revs up our body's own antioxidant defense systems. Next is C15. This is a really interesting one. It's a fatty acid that basically works like a structural engineer for your cells. It reinforces the cell membranes, keeping them strong and stable. And by doing that, it helps the mitochondria work better, helps balance the immune system, and it even supports that super important autophagy cleanup crew. All right, now for a cellular 1-2 punch. We're going to talk about a powerful duo, two compounds that work together to tackle that cellular mess problem, especially those pesky zombie cells we mentioned earlier. And that duo is Fisetin and Quercetin. These two are famous for helping the body manage senescent cells. I love this analogy for what they do. They're like the managers who politely but firmly escort the retired workers who won't leave the office out the door. This makes room for new, healthy cells to get to work. Then there's D-limonene, which has this cool three-step protective plan. First, it helps fight something called glycation, which is basically damage caused by too much sugar. Second, it helps quiet down the harmful signals that zombie cells are screaming out. And third, it gives our own immune system a boost to help clear those zombie cells away. And finally, let's talk about ECGC. You've probably heard of this one. It's the superstar compound in green tea. Its real power comes from supporting two of those master regulators of longevity, SIRT1 and FOXO3. By flipping these switches, ECGC basically makes our cells tougher and better at surviving stress. Whew, okay, we've gone through the challenges, we've met some of the helpers. So, what's the big picture here? What should we really take away from all this deep dive into ourselves? Here's the most important thing to remember. This isn't about some magic potion to stop time. It's not about anti-aging, it's about pro-aging. It's about understanding and supporting the absolutely amazing built-in systems our bodies already have for keeping things in good shape. Systems for repair, for cleaning house, and for defense. Now, it is super important that I make this crystal clear. Everything we've talked about today is for you to learn from, for educational purposes. It is absolutely not medical advice. That means that before you even think about trying a new supplement, your very first step always is to talk to a doctor or another qualified healthcare professional. They're the only ones who can help you figure out the potential benefits, the risks, and what's actually right for your body. And that just about wraps it up. We are really just at the beginning of understanding this incredible world inside each of ourselves.